Hello my good friends, welcome back. This is the first episode of a 5-part series I'm doing looking at Mark Latham's Education Legislation Amendment Bill. So initially this is going to be one long video, however I've decided to break it up to make it a little bit easier to digest. So this episode is concerned with just looking at who Mark Latham is. In episode 2, we'll be looking at what the problem is with the New South Wales education system that Mark Latham is seeking to address. In episode 3, we'll be going through the bill itself. In episode 4, we'll look at the problems with the bill, and there are many. And then to finish off with in episode 5, because I don't think it would be fair for me to be overly critical of this kind of bill without laying out what my vision of education should be. And particularly as a high school teacher in Australia, identifying what I think is important. So if this sounds interesting to you, please hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with it, and even consider checking out my Patreon. And without further ado, let's get into looking at who is Mark Latham. For those of you who aren't Australian, very simply, Mark Latham is a right-wing reactionary culture war politician who is leader of the far-right One Nation Party in the state of New South Wales. Funnily enough, he was at one point leader of the centre-left Labor Party and contested the 2004 federal election as the alternative Prime Minister. The thing he's probably most remembered for from that period of his life is the bizarre handshake he gave his opponent John Howard at the polls. Truly a forerunner of cringe, and as we will see, that has not let up as his career has progressed. Since losing that election and retiring from political life, Latham has had a string of less than stellar runs at maintaining some sort of relevancy in public life. In 2005, he gave a speech at Melbourne University where he argued that organised politics was ineffectual at creating real social change due to public apathy, the structure of major parties, and perhaps most presciently for his future story arc, the rise of conservatism. Covering the 2010 election for Channel 9, Latham confronted then Labor Prime Minister Julia Gillard, questioning her about comments she was alleged to have made about him.
In a campaign already marred by distractions, Julia Gillard has faced another distraction today here at the Brisbane Exhibition Grounds. Just over here, a few minutes ago, Mark Latham confronted the Prime Minister, asking why a complaint had been made by the Labor Party against him in his new role as a reporter for Channel 9.
Julia.
Hello Mark, how are you?
Can I just ask you why the Labor Party has made a complaint about you working for Channel 9?
I don't know anything about that, Mark. If you want to work for Channel 9, what's the matter for you?
Well, you've made a complaint, and I think I should be allowed to make a living. If you'd agreed to the request to have an interview, there would be no need to make any complaint about anything. So if you want to make complaints, you really should make them about Rudd, who's the one who's sabotaging your campaign.
Well, Mark,
So have a dig at him instead of having a dig at someone trying to do a job.
Nice to see you, and I hope you enjoy your life as a journalist now.
Well, you tell your people to lace it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Latham has always been excellent at positioning himself at the centre of what's going on. Gillard, however, took the whole thing relatively well.
I'd be interested in your thoughts on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being just bearable, and 10 being massively annoying. How big of a tool is Mark Latham?
There are some things that can't be measured.
In 2016, Latham unveiled his renewed persona as a culture warrior just in time for the groundswell of reactionary populism that Donald Trump was reveling in. The first episode of his podcast, Lathamland, hit all of the conservative talking points of the day, demonstrating how willing he was to ride the wave of rising conservatism he'd hinted at those 11 long years ago. This next section will just be me reading out a couple of Latham's comments verbatim, so if you're going to clip me out of context to cancel me, this is your opportunity. On political correctness. There's been a real surge in political correctness over the past couple of years in Australia, and quite frankly, it's pissing off a lot of people who don't like being sneered at, who don't like being called racist or sexist, who don't like being told what they can and can't say. What's it come to when someone says, "I don't like being called that," and you can't say it? It's a denial of freedom of speech. It's political correctness gone berserk. On Rosie Batty. Surveys show women are safer than ever before, that sure, there are some unacceptable incidents of domestic assault in the community, but they're no worse than they were 20 or 30 years ago. Why this big national push? A lot of it, of course, has come out of Rosie Batty's role as a spokeswoman for the feminist movement, the left feminist movement. That's the thing that worries me about the domestic violence campaign. It's being run for political reasons. It's left feminists pushing what they call definition of patriarchy. They think Australia is a patriarchy. Around this time, it came out that Latham was secretly operating a Twitter account that had been involved in trolling and abusing women online. What an absolute shocker. Following this, he had a few commentator gigs before finally landing one at Sky News for the program Outsiders. This absolute gem of a conservative culture war show is literally everything that is wrong with the Murdoch press. However, it wasn't long before Latham was again introduced to the consequences of his own actions.
The last straw was the belated revelation that he had called this bunch of boys from Sydney Boys High dickheads, and one of them gay, for making a widely shared video in support of International Women's Day. Latham, meanwhile, has learnt nothing, blaming the bigoted left, identity fascism, cultural Marxism and political correctness for his demise, and promising he'll be back.
Outsiders already fielding offers of new platforms to continue important work, free from those who cave into pathetic PC outrage industry.
I'd like to say we wish him luck, but he was offensive, abusive and a bully, and we don't.
After that, he joined the Liberal Democrats, Australia's flailing Libertarian Party, although lasted only a year as a member until being told he wouldn't be endorsed to run for Parliament, and so he shifted to One Nation. Again, for those among us who are not Australian, here's a portion of Pauline Hanson, who is the leader of One Nation, of her greatest hits.
Fellow Australians, if you are seeing me now, it means I have been murdered.
And I will take you out for a halal snack pack out in the western suburbs of Sydney, whenever you want.
Not happening. Not interested in halal, thank you. Not interested in it. I don't believe in halal certification.
We live in a cohesive society.
You love your Islam bit, don't you?
No.
Are you xenophobic? Please explain.
Xenophobia means a fear of all things foreign.
I'll refer to her as everyone knows, Pauline. Our Pauline, the people's politician. She is one of us, and we are just like her.
A teacher teaching kids how to strap on a dildo. Teachers telling kids how to masturbate.
30 seconds.
It's my favourite topic. Refugees. You're not going to tell me you're a refugee, James, are you?
No, Aboriginal.
Really? I wouldn't have picked it. It's good to see that you're actually, taking up this and working. I hate Asians? No way in the wide world. I just don't want to see Australia become Asianised or swamped by Asians.
Right.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Hanson.
After looking at Latham's checkered past couple of decades, we can see that joining in the One Nation fold is a perfect finish for his story arc. He is now a full-on conservative culture warrior, bandying around terms like postmodernism and cultural Marxism, even though he never tells his audience what those are. Just trust me, they're super scary, alright? And his new favourite phrase, gender fluidity. Hopefully, this should give you a bit of an understanding of the kind of person that Mark Latham is. An opportunistic, grumpy old man who needs someone to shout at and also needs the world to listen. Tune in next time where we will have a look at what is the problem with the New South Wales education system that Mark Latham is just so concerned about. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please head on over to patreon.com/onlydog on the left, and there you can see the different kind of tiers that I've got going on. And speaking of Patreon, I want to take this opportunity to thank my wonderful patrons in Puppy Preschool, Ben Snow and Extremely Online Left, my guard doggos are Jordan Mark and Tristan Hennessy, and to A. Zeitlo, Dangwin and Jackson Orville, you are very good boys. Hit me up on my Discord, shoot me through an email, all of that is in the description, and thank you so much for listening.
They're based on feelings, not facts.
I'm not your gender studies professor who has to cater to your trigger warning, microaggression, safe space bullshit.
Most women are happier at home.
Clean up your room. Organize your local landscape.
schedule your time.
And I
Start
have to
taking
say that my
control of
brain is
yourself.
still in recovery mode from taking in so many high-level important ideas.